Welcome back to another live stream. I am Keith. This is Life Journey Production Studios. Let me know if this is loud enough. I did mess with the audio a bit tonight. My prompter quit working right before we went live. Let's change what's behind me so you can see the multi-view, and let's go ahead and change what's in the preview so it doesn't look so janky. So again, we are live streaming from the ATEM Mini Pro. How exciting is that? Flashback to what? 2019, I think, is when the ATEM Mini Pro came out. At least that's pretty close. And just before the ATEM Mini Pro came out, the ATEM Mini came out, and it didn't stream. It didn't have any encoding built into it. There's those buttons were all missing. The on air, off air, the little video matrix that's available now, but it did have a webcam out. So again, let me know how the audio is sounding, and we'll say hello here in the chat. It looks a little low to me, so I'm going to see if we can't bring that up a little bit. Let's see here. Let's raise the level of that mic, and let's raise the level of this about a dB. And let's see, is that better? Or do we need just a tad bit more gain tonight? So let me know in the chat how the audio is sounding, and we'll go from there. So the goal tonight is to do some things that we didn't get to do last week. We're going to talk about how you can use the webcam again, output out, and you can use it to display 3 different things into OBS, and then you can use OBS to project program or multi-view, and it kind of depends. Right now, I have multi-view, and that's my HDMI, so I can change it to program as well and show what you guys are seeing. And then I also have that over on my laptop coming through OBS, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. I have H2R Graphics fired up tonight. I want to show how you can bring H2R Graphics into the stream. I do have my webcam coming into channel 2. You can see it right here in the multi-view. Again, lots of things you can do with webcams. They have to come normally into your PC or your Macintosh, and then you have to bring those in somehow projecting full screen. And so I can easily switch to this view and show you this webcam. And I don't do this a lot. So here is Skycam number 1, and it is coming into the stream. There's my shelf with all my, not all my, very small part of my Batman collection. There's some more. And then I can go into my macros right now, and I think I can bring my circle in. Let's see, where's the best place right now? Let's go circle bottom. Let's see, circle bottom right. And let's change what is in that. Macro is not working, so that should be this camera. And that's the one that's broke. So again, so Skycam. So this is an Insta360. Let's see which one I have fired up right now. This is the Insta360 Link 2, not the new Pro version. And so that's the back of my chair. Here is another view of the shelf. Here is a wide shot of me. And then I can shift over to another Skycam, and let's just switch it real quick. This is the Insta360 Link, the original one. We'll go ahead and blast around the studio with that camera. Let's bring it over, transition it over. So there is a view. There is my logo. My Lego Star Wars trash compactor. And then using, again, a webcam coming into my laptop and then bringing that, or in my PC, and then bringing that on the air by using OBS, then I can project it full screen, and you can see that it is in, we'll just shift here real quick. It is in the second input right here, and I can switch this with a switch, and we'll talk about these tonight. And I know I'm on here twice, but bear with me, we'll cut back. So again, there it is in input number 2 in my multi-view, and then back to that, and I can go around the room with 8 different locations. That one's designed to show the ATEM on my desk, and I just get out of the way, but I'm in the way of that angle. Here is a look at the studio, and it takes it a second to adjust auto ISO. And then here is my Robo Sapien that I bought a long time ago. I'm very much into robots. And then that's one of my omnibuses on the Batman and Robin 1966. And that is a giant omnibus. And then you have closer up look at Luke and Leia in the trash compactor, Lego, a little design. And then here's the desk. You got mix effects right here. My Rodecaster Pro 2. That's my Wacom tablet where I can operate the chat and H2R Graphics, and then my monitor. And so just to show you my desk, which is kind of cool to have these sky cams, let's just open this all the way up, and we'll adjust this just a little bit. And then we will zoom in a touch here. So now that is my BenQ monitor. It has 4 sections. I can make it one 32-inch monitor, or I can make it 4 individuals. I can do a picture-in-picture that size side by side, and they center down here. I could flip it over and use it portrait instead of landscape. And I can do a full screen with the picture-in-picture like I'm doing right. Wait, let's find if I can point how I do that right there, but it would be a square picture-in-picture. And I'm doing this by a macro. So I'm using the upstream key to put myself in a circle pattern and then shrink it down to put it right there so you guys can have that. And I can take that off the air simply by hitting the button, but I want to continue and show you guys more views here. So let's close that down and let's continue. Again, there is Luke and Leia, that shot on my desk. Then there's this shot of my TV in the studio. And then I think I took you through all the different views on that sky cam as well. So we'll shift back over, and we want to take the circle off the air. And then we'll go to back to me and a logo, which resets my key to have this on the screen. So the key to an ATEM Mini Pro is how do you overcome the lack of inputs? Because it only has 4 HDMI inputs, and then that's it. So how do you do fill and key? And if you guys look on the monitor right here, I do have my HyperDeck coming in. So I'm using these switches on input 2 and input 4. And there is a link to the description. There was last week, there is this week. And so I will get out of the frame, see if I can bring this in. There you go. And basically it is 2 inputs in. We'll show you this close up later on the desk. And 1 input out, and it just has a push button. It doesn't need any power to operate. So you can have 2 devices come into it and then choose between which one you want to go in the inputs. And you could use one of those on all 4 of your inputs. And then I also demonstrated in last week's live stream that you can use a HyperDeck. So you can see again, I have a HyperDeck coming in right here into input number 3 and 4. And so I can turn that one into a camera input because it has a SDI and an HDMI input. You just have to switch between which one you want. And then it also has the SDI A and B output. And I'm using the SDI A and B output right now coming into tonight's channel 3 and 4, so I can play that. And then I also have a still here that will take it to play my subscribe logo. Let me turn chat off the air here and make sure this is going to work. So let me try this again. and hopefully it will play. No, everything's broken, of course, now that I am trying to go live. So something's on the air here. Let me fix it. I've got my downstream key and my upstream key on the air at the same time. So let me just double check what's in that downstream key after I push the button. So it should just play. Nope. It's not queuing the logo for some reason. So we'll scroll that. Should have played the subscribe logo. So we'll fix that macro tonight. But again, lots of things that you can do with an ATEM Mini Pro. That's why we're going to do a series here on the channel. And again, many of you know that I kind of started by talking about the ATEM Mini Pro. And early on, I've shared this many times, I was using the cam link. And so again, let's turn that key off the air. And so CamLink is a great device, and it can bring in HDMI up to 4K and bring it into a Mac or a PC through a 3.0 USB-A port. And again, this is how you could bring one camera in. So if you're doing a home studio and you don't want to use a webcam anymore, and the webcams are getting pretty nice, by the way, and I've done a number of videos on webcams this year on the channel. So if you haven't seen those, go over and check it out. But we'll say hi here in the chat in just a second. So we started out with CamLink, then we went to the ATEM Mini Pro, and that's why we are doing this series on the ATEM Mini Pro. So let's put chat on the air. Let's turn the SkyCam off, and let's just make sure chat is on. And then let's go through here and say hi. So Chio was with us earlier. So Chio, thank you. He says, I like using the HDMI as multi-view and the USB-C as program. So again, hi Chio. And we do have a poll tonight that's basically asking that question. Have you used an ATEM Mini Pro webcam USB-C out to display multi-view while using HDMI as program? Now you could reverse those, and that's what Chio is saying he did. So congrats to Chio because he's already using that technique. And I do have a video here on my channel that talks about using the webcam out to display either program or multi-view while you're using the HDMI out to display the other thing. And why would you want to display program and multi-view? Well, multi-view so you could run your show. There's only one HDMI out, so you could choose between the two just like I am right now. So there you go. I have program and I have multi-view. So that's normally what you'd have to do with a monitor. But what if you want to use both at the same time? Well, now you can use the webcam out to display program. And that means that you have huge advantages because now you could be having a confidence monitor, or you could be using it for multi-view and use the video HDMI out to be multi-view. So again, your choice. It could be program like this, or it could be multi-view, and that's by the little matrix on front of the ATEM, and we're going to look at that here in a little bit. Or you can use the USB-C out, and if you're using the USB-C out, you have to go into the control software, and you have to change that under the output of the software control for Blackmagic Design, which controls all the ATEMs. And so we'll also look at the software control tonight. But let's finish saying hi. So thank you for joining me tonight, Chio, or us tonight, Chio. Grish, hi. Good from Eastern Washington to have Grish with us. Hank is with us tonight in the house from Bluffton, South Carolina. It's good to have you, Hank. Sorry, I'm not looking directly in the camera, but I lost my my third monitor for some reason. I said hi back to a bunch of people. Tony checking in from Leland, North Carolina. It looks like Tony might be with us tonight for the whole live stream. And he says ATEM Mini Pro was announced on April 3rd, 2020. So thank you, Tony, for that correction. And again, so ATEM Mini earlier, I think it was in 2019, and then the ATEM Mini Pro, which was a game changer because it added some cool features of having multi-view out, and obviously it would stream and encode. You could record out of the USB-C as well, which is really powerful. Where the first ATEM Mini, you had to pretty much record somewhere in your software on your computer, but now you can record out of the USB-C. Now, again, the disadvantage, and we'll talk about this tonight, is that if you want to record, that's the USB-C, right? There's no internal recording in the ATEM Mini Pro. So far, they haven't enabled any network recording on the ATEM Mini Pro. So you have the USB-C out, so you could plug a USB-C drive that I have here out. This is my 4 terabyte that I originally used in a contract I did. And so all of their information was stored on here. And so I could just take this anytime I was working with that client and then put it away when I wasn't, and then back it up as well. And I backed it up on my laptop, but I also had this so I could edit like video clips and all that stuff. And then I kept the videos on here, but I didn't keep those on my laptop once the stuff was edited. So that would have to plug into the USB-C port and record. And as you can see tonight, I am not recording. Only YouTube is recording tonight. So if this stream goes down, we're out of luck because it's all up to YouTube tonight. And and I am seeing some glitches in my computer projecting multi-view, but that's just because my laptop is getting warm. And that's why when you use a laptop and OBS or software on your laptop or your Macintosh or your PC, whatever it is, to do the encoding and streaming, you got to be very careful you keep that PC cool and you don't run a lot of things in the background. Where the advantage of the ATEM Mini Pro tonight is it's doing all the work. It's doing all the coding and it's doing all the streaming. You can see right now that it's going out to the world of the internet at right around 6.10 megabits per second, and that's because I have it set to streaming high. And if I bump that up to HyperDeck low or HyperDeck medium or HyperDeck high, you would see this number go up. The quality as far as HDMI doesn't change to like 2K or 4K, but the quality and the compression on the video tonight would be actually lower and the files would be bigger and you could do more with it after you had recorded it. And again, we talked about that. If you're using it as a webcam, you can't record. So how would you record? You would have to use the webcam out as program and then record in software that's on your laptop some way, or some recorder that you could plug a USB-C in. But again, I'm using OBS, so I would use it as program out, and then I would record in OBS. And I record in OBS every week for my intro video. So this video right here is actually recorded in OBS. So the still image is brought into OBS. I use the OBS features for the countdown clock. And then I add the music later. I could add it inside OBS, but I add the music later and some other graphics occasionally and some photographs inside Adobe Premiere because it's just so much faster for me to do it that way. So you would have to use your computer to record. And then once you're using your computer to record and you're using the webcam out, then OBS should be able to do both. So it can use it to display to another monitor, the program, and you'd be able to record, and your laptop or your PC or your Macintosh would be doing all the work. So keep that in mind if you use that technique. Now, because I have my laptop and my PC plugged into channel 2, we'll be able to flip this to my laptop and show you the control software, and we'll be able to also to show you OBS, but we're going to finish saying hi in the chat. So Gris says, speaking of OBS, did you get a chance to confirm your canvas resolution in OBS settings we spoke about last week? Yeah, I think I rebooted OBS and whatever was happening, it was a glitch, and it reset the canvas resolution, and everything's fine. And actually, once I rebooted my computer, and I've set a timer tonight for the chat. So if I put a chat, let me put chat back on the air so Grish is up there. I've set a timer now in Aaron Parecki's chat plugin, which is a Chrome extension. Again, another tip here we're going to talk about on the channel, and I have a video here on my channel, but you can see now after 11 seconds, the chat goes away, and if I want to still have it up there, I've got to click on it again, and it'll stay up there for 11 seconds, and that is available to change inside Aaron Parecki's Google Chrome extension, and you can also change the background color. Right now, we'll do Grish one more time. That's set to transparent, so everything that's not that chat is transparent. So I'm using a Luma key, but I could change the background to green and use a chroma key. And that's very similar to a lot of how people will display graphics from software on their computers. So welcome, Grish. Welcome, Tony. Welcome, Hank. Welcome, Chio and Grish. It's great to have you all. DJ Ware from Dallas, Texas, the big state. It's good to have you. I actually was in Texas on a cruise, and I was just going to allude to this, Shannon. I went for a cruise, and we stopped at the following ports: Roatan, which is an island of Honduras, so it's part of Honduras, and I bought a hat. I stopped at Cozumel and Costa Maya, and I bought hats, and last cruise, I bought a hat at every port, and this cruise, I bought a hat at every port. In fact, I had to fix my hair tonight because I've been sporting this hat all day long. Had to take my truck into service this morning, go pack it back and pick it up at noon. So most of tonight's live stream was actually put together last night while my wife was having a big girls' night out. So it's good to have you here, DJ Ware. At Street News Now, question: what are the cams you are using right now? That's a great question. Thanks for asking it. This camera that you're looking at right now is a Canon EOS R. And again, I can bring another camera in through this input right here. So we'll switch that up right now. Let's see. No, I would just do this. Let me hit record right here on my HyperDeck, and it'll take a minute. There we go. So now there is another camera. So that's bringing in this camera right here, which is another EOS R. So we're going to switch to that right now. So this camera right here is another EOS R. And then over my shoulder right here, which is not plugged in, this is plugged in currently in my Extreme. And I can bring my stream on the air right here, going to HDMI 1 on my monitor. So we'll switch back. So there it is. And this is the multi-view from my Extreme ISO. So I have 3 Extreme ISOs, 2 in the studio, 1 in a box that I need to send off to repair to Blackmagic Design if I ever do that. But again, so I have all Canon cameras. They have all L lenses on them. In fact, this lens you're looking at right now is a 16-35, and then I have a 24-70 and a 24-105. And the most expensive of the 3 lenses is the 24-70 because it's a 2.8. This is a f4, and my 24-105 is an f4. And if you know anything about L lenses or the more expensive glass, you're paying more for a zoom lens because there's more glass in it, and it's got to be able to zoom in and out. And usually when you have the higher end lenses, there is no change in the aperture. Or if you buy less expensive lenses, you might go from like f4 to f5.3 as you zoom in and out. And that changes the light. So if you have it set to manual, when you're zooming in and out, you're getting more or less light depending on if you're at f4, that's more light. because the smaller f number is more size on the lens, so it's kind of backwards, but it's true. So f4 is more light than a f5.3, as well as if you went down to f2.8, which is what one of my other two lenses is, that's a lot of light, and it also will create more background blur. So f2.8 is going to create what we call more bokeh, which I believe that's either Japanese, I think it's Japanese for out of focus. We call it bokeh, and so everything else in the back would drop off. So Canon EOS R, two of them, one Canon 5D Mark IV, which again is the camera that is on the other extreme. I don't have room for it tonight in our live stream. So we'll switch that back to the video so I can play graphics. So now this is no longer, cool thing about a HyperDeck is I can switch it by hitting record. The first time you hit record, it goes to whatever the input is, and the first time you hit play, it goes to whatever was on the disc. And so you really can bring a video in or animated graphics from a HyperDeck, or you could bring in a camera, which is really cool. And the other thing too is if you bring a camera in SDI, it can record up to HyperDeck HD Plus, Studio HD Plus, which is what I have in the studio. We talked about it last week in the live stream for the ATEM Mini and the HyperDeck video last Tuesday. That we talked about how there's an SDI A and B coming out the back and an HDMI of that new HyperDeck Studio HD Plus. It also has an HDMI in and an SDI in, and you have to choose which one of those you want to use if you're going to record a camera. So technically, you could have an SDI camera plugged in and an HDMI camera plugged in, and you could use the little, let's see, on the front input button to switch between them. So technically, you could have two cameras plugged into a HyperDeck and switch over to videos. And it takes about 3 seconds. You can watch on the monitor right now. So watch this channel, these two channels right here, and I'll hit record again, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. So it took 5 seconds. And the reason it took 5 seconds is not only does it have to switch to record mode, now it has to stop and go, okay, am I doing SDI or am I set to HDMI? So it added a couple more seconds of delay doing that. So we'll switch that back by hitting play on the HyperDeck. And so hopefully that helps answer your question. And love to see what your name is at Street News question. What cams are you using? Love to hear your name in the chat. Good to have you, Killbit808. Hello. Love to hear your name. Thank you for joining us. Obviously, all of you have subscribed because I have subscribers only enabled. So if you can't chat tonight, just subscribe, and 1 minute later, you will be able to chat with us. I'd love to have you say hi if you are watching. And I rarely look at YouTube to see how many people are watching, but I would super appreciate if you do hit the like button. If you're enjoying this series on the ATEM, then we're going to dive in here in just a second. Tim, it's great to have you. Greetings from down under. That's Melbourne, Australia. That's really cool. We got Killbite here from Arizona. Great. Tony, it's great to have you here as well. No, I get it. I said it was a correction, and I'm fine. I didn't know for sure when the ATEM Mini Pro came out. I was guessing right around 2019. I lose track. We all know what happened then, so it's a blur. But I started using an ATEM Mini Pro, not an ATEM Mini. So now you know when they released it, when I got my first switcher in my studio. Okay, so Killbite, I own an ATEM Mini Pro ISO, but I need to get more familiar with its capabilities. Well, again, if you watch these videos, also in the description, I have my top performing video on my channel. It's my ATEM Mini Pro getting started. It's got over 100,000 views. That's the only video I have anywhere near that kind of performance, and that link is in the description. My HyperDeck series are in the description as well. I have Amazon affiliate links down there. Thank you if you use those. It helps support the channel. And full disclosure, I do get a little commission, but you don't pay more. So I've found those. I even have this switch in the description. And I also have a HDMI or SDI to HDMI adapter or converter from Blackmagic Design, one with a power supply and one without. That's in the descriptions as well, also with a disclaimer, because if you buy the one without a power supply, you will have to power it through USB-C. So you're gonna have a way to get USB-C power into it because it needs power to convert SDI to HDMI. And why would you want to buy two of those? Well, if you buy a HyperDeck Studio HD Plus, it has A and B SDI outs. A is for your main video, which would be this layer. Let me put it up on the screen again. Let's go to this right here. Okay, I'll stop that. And so this layer right here is the fill layer. Stop. And this layer right here is the key layer. So that second white layer is the background key. So it's cutting out all the black so that everything inside that white is super crisp and the edges are super crisp. And that is called a pre-multiplied graphic, and video can be rendered as a alpha channel graphic. And so it has two layers, and the HyperDeck Studio HD Plus, or the older HyperDeck Mini, don't get that wrong with the newer one, it does not have key and fill, it only has fill. So that's the key layer, and then this is the fill layer, and it starts, because I have it set to auto. So again, there you go. My subscribe logo is a dual alpha channel graphic, and to better understand that, we'll go back to the main camera here and look at my screen right here, and you can see that is the fill layer and that is the key layer, and that's what I was showing you by bringing channel 3 and 4 on the line. So one of the things that you can do if you want to have animated graphics, I have a stinger loaded here. Let's see if the stinger actually plays, because for some reason the subscribe was broken. So where is my stinger? Stinger. That worked. So now that's designed 2 layers. So layer 1, we'll start that again and stop it. So that's layer 1 right here. Let's hit that one more time. So that's layer 1 that you're seeing on the screen. And then I'm going to have to hit stop again. We'll change to 4. And that is the key layer. So you put those two together, the back one cuts out everything behind it so that the top layer right here can lay on it and look nice and crisp, especially when it starts going around. And so right now you're just seeing the graphic on the screen, but if I cut back to me and turn the stinger on the air, I don't know why it went off the air. We'll leave that on. We'll turn it back on the air. So, and that's designed to hide transitions. So I really don't have anything to cut to right now, except for that graphic, but I could change from that graphic to another one by timing it right in the middle. So I know that's going to drive you crazy because there's sound included in that as well. So we'll turn that off. So a HyperDeck can do that. A HyperDeck can bring a camera in, actually 2 cameras. You can switch between them. And a HyperDeck can bring in animated graphics, or it can just play a video like my intro tonight. And so we'll just tap on that one more time. So I can play videos on the air as well through a HyperDeck. So, but it does take up 2 channels in your ATEM. So if you use one of these, then you can steal one of the channels when you're not playing video. So if you have an intro and an outro like I do, and you're not going to play any videos or any animated graphics during your live stream, then you can just get one of these and switch. So we'll switch it right now. And so now I'm going to actually add in my other camera. So this is actually a OBSBot Tiny 3 into a UVC adapter that changes USB-C webcam into HDMI. So I'm bringing it in tonight through the switch. So one side is the key from my HyperDeck, and the other side is the adapter HDMI. So now I can bring that on the air, and I can show you that's my Rodecaster video, which is not the focus tonight. There is the ATEM Mini Pro right there on my desk. And if I switch microphones, flip this out of the way, you can get a great shot out of it. Here's a wider shot on my desk to see all the junk. So there is my two ATEM Extreme ISOs, my Rodecaster right there, which you can see in this shot, and then my ATEM Mini Pro right there, and there is a close-up of that. And then again, if we go back, you see my PopKeys keyboard. Here is my PopKey mouse, my HyperDeck. This is the original HyperDeck shuttle. It does have fill and key. They replaced it a number of years back ago, so there's no firmware updates. And then this is the HyperDeck shuttle HD or Studio HD Plus, and we'll zoom into those. That's why I have this Tiny 3 hooked up. So there is the HyperDeck Studio HD Plus I was talking about. Here is the input button that changes up here from SDI input to HDMI input, and that's a button that's added to this new HyperDeck. And out of this is a SDI in and out, and I had a graphic of that last week here that I showed everybody. And I don't think I still have it. I do not. But we did talk about this new device. Now, this is a monitor and a shuttle, and you can see on the back it does have SDI outs, and it does have key and fill, which is super exciting that it does offer key and fill. So I'm able to steal that channel 4 with one of these little switches by just pushing the button. Again, it takes about 2-3 seconds to change, and can't show you that because I'll lose that well, I guess I can. So I won't push this button. I'll push the button, and you're going to see this box change. So here we go, and pressing now, 1001. So it's back to my HyperDeck, pressing 1001, 1002. So about 3 seconds to go to the camera HDMI, and only took a second and a half to go back to my OBSBot Tiny 3. And this is a great camera, has one of the biggest sensors that's available out there right now in a webcam, at least the price range that it is. So check that out. I'm going to switch back to this microphone, and that's the best answer that I can give you to the ATEM, and you can add things to it. Like, we're going to look here really quickly at some cool things that you can do with a computer, and graphic packages like H2R Graphics and OBS, which is free. And there's some certain things you can do free from H2R Graphics, but there is a pro version, and OBS just continues to be freeware. And it's a basic open broadcasting system. That's what OBS stands for. Okay, back to the chat. So chat on the air, and let me get back to my PopKeys mouse, which controls that. Good to have you, David, from Australia. Morning, Keith. Just got up. I'm traveling again for the next few months, 7 a.m. So it's good to have you, David. Dave is a great photographer. He's traveling with his wife and trailer now. So go check out his channels. Maybe, David, if you want to put your other travel channel in the chat tonight, that would be great. At iBuild Capture, I really like the Canon R50V for streaming. Yeah, that is a great camera. I have no problem with that. Welcome as well to tonight's live chat. I use a Sony a6600. That's a great camera. I installed the A60, actually two A6400s in a church in Snohomish, Washington, which is about 4.5 hours away from me. I gave them the list of things I needed to buy, so we put in an ATEM Extreme. We did a REI, or I think it's, no, Oria, or whatever, however you pronounce it, splitter that sends HDMI through the building. And that's what we used, HDMI 2 out of the ATEM Extreme. And again, things about the ATEM Extreme compared to the ATEM Mini, the ATEM Mini Pro only has one HDMI out. The SDI models of the ATEM Mini have two SDI outs, which is great. You don't have to use the OBS trick. You can just use one SDI out to be multi-view and the other SDI out of the ATEM Mini SDI ISO and the ATEM Mini SDI, Pro SDI, I think. Those devices have two outs, so they're very valuable, but you do have to take the extra SDI inputs and you can put your HyperDeck directly in, because you don't have to buy a converter, but you have to buy converters if you want to bring HDMI in, and that's true with the Extreme SDI ISO model as well. So the Sony a6600 is a great camera. At Build Capture Q, how do you like the ATEM compared to the RCV? Okay, let's come back to that question in just a second. After using so many streaming setups, ATEM, etc., what is your favorite? That's another great question. We're going to talk about that here in a second. At Build Capture, hello, everyone. My name is Chris. Good to have you, Chris, from Florida. Thank you for putting that in the chat. Do you use the Stream Deck? Yeah, I'm using my Stream Deck not for companion, though I know how. And the Stream Deck now can be used with the YOLO Box Extreme. And I played with it, and we'll probably talk about that if I get to keep the Extreme a while longer. They sent me one, and I've been doing some videos here on the channel, but it has to go back. And they did enable with a new firmware update to be able to use the Stream Deck, and they have a companion plug-in, so you can now use companion according to Aaron Precki. So go check out his videos on that and go to YOLO Live's videos on that. They had a YOLO deck that you had to use before, but now they finally have listened to many of us that said you need to enable the Stream Deck. So I use my Stream Deck mainly right now for turning my lights on and off. So, but I do have a Stream Deck XL, and I have a Stream Deck Plus that I have a bunch of plugins that I can do editing with for Adobe Premiere, and I have a Lightroom plugin that I never use that I purchased from a great company. So, okay. Grish got some squeaky springs, LOL. Yeah. My channel is just my name now, Keith. That's right. So David Osler. So go check out his channel and see what he's been talking about. Okay. So we have caught up finally with the chat, and I apologize. It looks like we're going to be on here a while because I got some things I want to cover. So, but let me try to get back here. Why is it not letting me scroll back up? Okay. How do you like this? Only stay up for 11 seconds, but how do you like the ATEM compared to the RCV? I want to do a video live stream on this, but I'll give you the simple answer. The ATEM Mini Pro has some limitations that the RCV does not. So you actually have three versions of the Rodecaster video, and I have one here on my desk, the biggest one. You have the new core, which has no buttons on it, that you can have it work in conjunction with the Rodecaster Pro 2 and the Rodecaster Pro Duo, and that's amazing because you get the 2 Duo channels and the 2 channels in the core, and you also can get the 4 channels and the 2 channels in the core if you have a Rodecaster Pro 2, but they haven't enabled all of those features yet, I hope. I don't know anything, but I'm guessing that you can do that. And again, the thing I'm saying is that you can bring USB-C in from your Rodecaster Pro 2 into my Rodecaster Video and the Rodecaster Video S, but what they enabled in the core is a lot more in depth than that. And I'm sure that they wanted to appeal to people that own a Rodecaster Pro And I have a client like that that owns a Rodecaster Pro 2. He was using another device to get 2 more microphones into his new podcast setup. And now he's going to be able to use 2 of the inputs on the core and 4 from his Rodecaster Pro 2. And he's going to be able to mix and route those however he wants, do mix minus. So he'll be able to have 6 microphones by mixing up a Rodecaster Pro 2 and a Rodecaster Video Core. So the biggest difference, I believe, between, and there's a number of them, but the biggest thing is the Rodecaster Video, I think, fixes a number of things that you don't find available in the ATEM Mini Pro or the Pro ISO, and also in the Extreme. Even though the Extreme has 8 inputs and 2 HDMI outputs, and if you buy the SDI model, you have even more outputs. Like you'll get on some of the new devices like the G2, which is the new replacement for the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. So you can buy those still, but they're not making them anymore. You got to buy a $2,195 G2 if you want a 8 input HDMI device, but there's huge improvements in the G2, and we've talked about it here on the channel. But you have the ability to send NDI out and bring in NDI sources. You can assign any of those NDI sources to any one of the buttons on the Rodecaster Pro as far as the first 4 buttons. 5 and 6 bring in outside cameras, so you have 2 USB-C ports. So you can bring in 2 webcams in the Rodecaster Video. And with a firmware update, they've enabled way more webcams. And so we need to do another video on it. We need to live stream a number of weeks again from the Rodecaster Video because they've made improvements. So a lot of things I did tonight and had to use switchers and all of that. But if you look at the price difference, these are like 20 bucks. So a couple of these, and if you don't need those inputs, you just need to have a few seconds to bring them on the air. Then this is a great solution to add extra inputs to an ATEM Mini. But with the Rodecaster, you get a number of different ways to bring devices in, and you get, with webcams, you get 6 inputs or NDI sources. So basically 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the Rodecaster Video could be exactly like an ATEM Mini Pro, bring in 4 HDMI signals. 5 and 6 could be 2 NDI signals coming in from PTZ cameras or from an app like Rode Connect, and the new wireless Go 3 and the new wireless Pro and the new handheld microphone will all connect directly to your iPhone, and 2 microphones inside the Rode Capture app, which is free, which will send out NDI from both sides of your camera. And so to have a device that will bring NDI in and not have to invest in an NDI device and the license is built into Rode, just like it is built in to the YOLO Live YOLO Box Extreme. So I have all kinds of positive feelings about Rode, but I'm a big Blackmagic Design ATEM guy. I have lots of clients as well as friends that are still using ATEM Mini Pros. Lots of people, over 1,000 subscribers to my channel subscribed because of my ATEM Mini Pro getting started videos. So the best way to answer both David's question and at Build Capture Q, and I'll try to memorize this name. My name is Chris. So Chris from Florida, the best way to answer that is I like the ATEM Mini Pro because, again, it's my roots, right? It's my first ever switcher, and they kept doing good updates. The firmware version 9.5.1 added the ability to not just take program out of the webcam out. You can now do preview and multi-view out of the webcam out, and that lets you do a lot of the tricks that we're going to talk about tonight. So again, that's kind of a synopsis. I really like both devices, but obviously the Rodecaster Video and the Rodecaster Video S are great choices as well, and you get a lot of cool features. The biggest difference, number 2, from the ATEM to a Rodecaster is the audio quality, because the preamps in a ATEM Mini Pro all the way up to the Extremes aren't the greatest preamps. They're 3.5 jacks. You got to go to the new Blackmagic Design ATEM Extreme G2, and that device has a nicer audio input. It also has MADI, and Rodecaster devices have no MADI. And what's MADI? MADI, you have the ability to add more audio. So you can buy a box from Blackmagic Design and run a single MADI cable to that box, and then from that box to another box, from that box to another box, and you can add up to 16 additional channels to a Blackmagic Design Extreme G2, ISO G2, or whatever it's called. And that's a great device. I think I have, no, I erased it. I had a picture of that tonight, but I erased it. So again, audio quality is going to be way better in a Rodecaster video. You have great control over it. You can do mix minus. There's just a lot of things. Both of them will do a webcam out into your computer. And so, yeah, there's just a lot of features. We would have to dedicate 3 or 4 weeks to the Rodecaster video again to cover all of those things. And again, bringing in NDI sources and sending out NDI sources is really cool, because I could go from my YOLO Box Extreme into my Rodecaster video without any cables. That's really cool. From my phone into it, as well as you can do SRT and NDI in a YOLO Box Extreme, which is another great option. It's a different option entirely. It's like a mini computer with a monitor, and really, ATEMs have no LCD screen, and the Rodecaster really only has a tiny information screen that you can really only check and change things in it, but it's not really for displaying video on top of the device. You have to use a monitor, and you really have to use a laptop with it, where the YOLO Box Extreme, you don't have to have anything with it. So that's what makes it a great device, other than the cameras and the inputs that you want to bring in and the microphones, but it only has 3.5 mic and input jacks as well, and headphone out. So again, keep that in mind. Also, the Rodecaster video has 2 headphones out, which is great. So you can have 2 microphones and 2 headphones on the Rodecaster Video and the Rodecaster Video S. The Rodecaster Video has 2 outputs for monitors in your studio, right and left, and the Rodecaster Video S does not. Neither does the Rodecaster Video Core. So keep that in mind. If you want to have studio speakers coming out of your switcher, then you can only do that with the Rodecaster Video, or you would have to come out some other way, like the headphone jacks into your speakers. But those are proper outs of a Rodecaster Pro 2, Rodecaster Pro Duo, and proper out of the Rodecaster Video, but you do not have those 2 outputs coming out of the back of a Rodecaster Core or a Rodecaster Video S. Man, there's a lot of stuff that I've had to digest this last 8 months, and I hope you guys appreciate that hard work, because I want to know those things for you guys. And again, if I had all 3 of those devices on the screen, and I've done that video here on the channel, then you can compare them side by side. So the ATEM Mini Extreme, the ATEM Mini Pro, and the Rodecaster Video, I think I have a live video on that. I'll wait for the 4K Blackmagic Mini SDI. Yes, amen to that. I shout amen. I still use my ATEM Mini Pro ISO. Well, Chio, why not? The ATEM is a great device, and it's very inexpensive. So you go on right now and shop for ATEM Mini Pro or ATEM Mini Pro ISO. And again, when it gets close to a Rodecaster Video, and all the prices change on the Rodecaster products, so now you got the Core with no buttons, the Rodecaster Video S that has buttons but less inputs, less USB-C inputs, and then you have the Rodecaster Video with the most amount of inputs, so 3 levels, and they raise the prices. So they're kind of janky on some sites, but the idea is the Core is the entry level, and you got to have a Rodecaster Video, a Rodecaster Pro 2 or a Rodecaster Pro Duo to really use it, and a laptop. And then you go over to the Rodecaster Video S, and it has buttons on it, and you still have limited inputs and outputs. So again, I would go with a Rodecaster Video all the way if I was going to invest any money, or I would buy the core if I didn't need the extra inputs that you have on a Rodecaster Video versus the Rodecaster Core and the Rodecaster Video S, which they're pretty well identical devices. The Core, they added a USB-C port on the front, which is great. So you could obviously plug into it from the front from your computer, and then you still have the two USB-Cs in the back. That also has, the Core does not have, it has internal storage. So does, I believe, the Rodecaster Video S has internal storage, but no micro SD card. But there's a micro SD card that you can plug into the back of the Rodecaster Video, but there is no internal storage on the Rodecaster Video. So enough about that. We're here tonight to talk to the ATEM about the ATEM, but those are amazing questions. And because I missed this earlier, hello to you too, Tony. So let's turn chat off the air. Let's flip to my laptops coming up right here. Should populate here in a second. There we go. And let's do this. Let's just let's start here tonight. And thank you for your patience. I might be locked up, which is not good, because I'm streaming and I'm using the USB-C out, and I've been doing it all day, and it looks like my software control froze. There we go. Whew, that was scary for a minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch to that camera. So here we go. So now you're seeing, we'll turn the logo off, and I do that right here in my upstream key. And if you notice with the ATEM Mini Pro, 4 inputs. So the top is live, it's red, and the bottom is green. It's ready. It's called preview. And you actually can go into the settings. So I could go up to here to connections and connect to the device and change it to cut bus. And cut means that any button I push on the front would cut live, and it comes from the factory that way. But you can go in the main software attachment into that device. Let me just see if it's going to show anything I can't show here. So if I go up here to connect, top left file, and I connect, go into ATEM setup. Go to the setup screen. For some reason, right now, I'm not finding that section. It will come to me. Stand by. Allie. Okay, if it's not there, where else could it be here? File. Preferences. No. Seriously. Man. Either I'm tired or I just looked right at it and missed it. Stand by. Oh, I looked right at it and missed it. So let's just switch here. So right here, you go cut bus or program. And the way you get to this screen is you got to go to the setup. So we're going to get out of this. We'll go there. So we're going to cancel out of this. I'm going to go up to file on the top left, connections. You can see I have 3 ATEMs live tonight. I want to connect to the ATEM Mini Pro, but I'm not going to connect this way. I'm going to connect on ATEM setup. And if there was a firmware update, I would get that alert first but I've done all my firmware updates, and I'm actually running the beta version 2 that's out right now. So ATEM, and then connect this button right here. And this is what will show me the firmware update needed. If it's been firmware updated, then that's how I get, you scroll down and you get to cut bus. You can also update the firmware now by via USB or Ethernet. You got to change it. Used to be USB-C only. So you had to have a USB-C cable connected to your ATEM in order to update it. But now you can click on this update via USB or Ethernet. But here is where you check program or preview. And I could do a whole video just on the settings inside that page, but we're not going to do that tonight. So again, back to the software. So again, live channels are up here, and then these are also sources. So if I cut to black, you just have black on the screen, color 1, color 2, which I changed to yellow today, color bars. My MP player also can be an input. And right now it's just showing my logo. So let me drop my still image in. So now you have my still image live, and then each of the cameras can be live. So here is just my still image. Here is camera 1. Here is the second input, which is my laptop. The third input right now is my HyperDeck video. It started to play. And then that is the key image, which is right now my OBSBot Tiny 3, because I stole that input using one of these switches. So that top row all can be inputs. So we'll go back to that. And let's go ahead and put me on the screen here. So circle bottom right for now, and we will change the input of my upstream key pattern to camera 1. So I'm in that window. So then you have all these are inputs, and as you get bigger devices, like an Extreme would have 8 up here. It would also have Super Source down here. It would have 2 media players. And so if you go down to the bottom, you have 4 folders. Folder 1 is the page we're on. Folder 2 shows your media player. And over here, you can access your computer, your different hard drives up here. You can preview different images. So let's say I wanted that. Let's do this still image. It's not up there. I could drag it up. Oops. I can drag it up and over from here. Or I could have dragged it over from the list. And now it's in here twice. We don't need it. So you can use this as a preview and access all of your hard drives that are hooked up to your Mac or your PC. And then over here is your one media player. So right now above my little circle is the media player, and that's what's live. If I wanted my logo live, it has to be brought over. So I got to drag them over if I wanted that still image to be live or this still image to be live. I have to drag them over. Now, they're not live yet. I've got to go down in the bottom left folder down here, and I got to decide how I want to bring them live. If I want to bring them live by just bringing the whole image on through my media player, I can cut to it. There you go. Or I could click on the bottom down here. I'll show you guys that. I could click down on the bottom down here and make this media player green. And now I can transition from preview down here and to program up here. So watch this change to green up here on the top row, which is my laptop, and watch this media player, which has that graphic right there in it on the right-hand side. Watch that change to red. Now, it's not going to get red down here. This is going to become red, green down here, and this media player up here is going to become red. So watch the transition. And that's a little confusing to people, because now this output is live and this one down here is not. I also, when I have the software control open, I can just cut. So I can cut to that, right? Or I can click over here on the media player and cut to it. So back to this view. So I can also bring things on the air through my key, and you can see right now I'm on the air through my key. My upstream key can do 3 different things. It can be Luma up here on the right. So if you want to find your keys, you have 4 folders up here. First one is palettes. It has your keys, has transitions in it, has your downstream key in it, has your fade to black speed in it. So each of these can be opened up so I can change colors. Here's where I changed color 2 to green, and you can find color 2 live right here. So if I went over here and changed that to a different color, it would show up on the screen right now, but I'm not going to change that. So the colors are up here. Then you have one upstream key, and that's right here. So I can turn it on the air. So right now it's camera 1, and it's set to pattern, and I'm inside a circle. So when I turn it on, I'm inside a circle. But if I was to turn it to Luma, it's set to camera 1. So we're going to change that to media player. So now I'm media player fill and media player key. And now if I turn it on, it's going to display that graphic. But let's drag a logo down there. Actually, let's drag my Facebook page for my business and my channel. And so now I have it set to media player Luma, and I have flying key on. So we're going to turn that off. And I'm just going to turn that on the air, and you're going to see my Facebook page for Life Journey Productions down there. So if you'd like to follow me on my Facebook page, you can do that by typing in that address, https://www.facebook.com/KLB Productions, which is my Facebook page, or you can just search for KLB Productions, and I think I'll pop up and you can join me there. So turn that logo back off. It's off the air. And then not only do I have an upstream key, I also have a downstream key. But I want to talk to you about using macros to get more out of this. So let's open up macro. I made all of these macros, and they're not showing up over there for whatever reason. Let's minimize this and look for my macros. Let's go back to me and a logo. They were there just a second ago. Let's see. Macros, where are you? Oh, there they are. Over on my other monitor. Let me drag them back over so that you guys can see them. So I'm just going to leave me off the screen for right now. I could click on this macro right here that says circle top left, and you have a create and you have a run. And I can make all these macros. I have pages upon pages of macros I can make, and you can see I have 2 pages, well, a page and a half right now. So this is my opening still image. If I was to run that, and I can run it automatically by enabling this button right here. And so when I click on me and a logo, it's going to put me and a logo on the screen. If I clicked on opening still, it's just going to put that up. I like to be able to click on them and decide before I run them. So again, let's go back to this page. Turn my logo off the air so you can see my page. So then all of these are macros, and they're designed to take advantage of the ATEM Mini Pro, so I can get a lot more out of it. So let's say I didn't want to use the default DVE on the front. So there's the default. And then if I click top left, top right, and for some reason, they defaulted to this size, but the original size you saw was because that's the size I had set in the DVE when we were doing picture-in-picture in my intro for my Skycam. So I created macros, so let's switch back over, so I could then have my picture-in-picture be a different size and on the screen. So let's do picture-in-picture macro and hit play. So there I am in a big size, and then let's do picture-in-picture bottom right, and I got to hit play to run that. So there I am in bottom right. But if I went back to the front of my ATEM, turn that off, and then on the front of my ATEM hit on again, and then I move it, it defaults to this tiny programmed in. And I don't like that size at all. So I rarely ever use it. I can turn my key off from there, but once I move it, it changes size. So let me play my macro again. And now I'm the size I want to be. And if I hit this recall button, I can just switch by clicking on these where they are on the screen. I created a picture-in-picture off, and then also on this page, a me and a lower thirds. So I can automatically click on this, and it's going to put my main camera and my lower thirds on the screen, and there I am. So macros give me the ability to do some pretty powerful things. So let's jump back over there again, and let's look at one of the powerful things I can do with this. So let's go back a page. Now watch this. I not only can put on a circle version of me, so here's a circle version of me right there on the top left, and then now I can go circle top right, I can go circle bottom right. These are all macros. I can go circle off, but I can also do a slideshow. Now the slideshow using timing in macros, so you can see I'm going to use this row in my media player and this row. So these are all things that I'm going to be able to bring in this slideshow, and I'm going to be able to play it for you right now. So I'm going to click recall run off. I'm going to click on slideshow, and I got to be in the run menu. I create in the create menu. I run in the run menu. And then when I hit play, it's going to start playing. And I set a, I think, 3-second pause between each slide. It's going to go from this slide back to this slide, and then I'll have to switch back to me. But let's hit play and watch what happens. Oops, wrong one. This is also a layout, so we'll come back to that. I apologize. I clicked on, where is slideshow? Okay, here is slideshow. I clicked on my special layout, but this is slideshow, so I've clicked on it, and now let's hit play. And again, I could be commentating over these. I could put my picture-in-picture on top of it, but I've actually used a macro to create a slideshow, and it's limited by how many slides I have loaded, but I could create a macro that would load new slides as well. But we're going through those. We have a few left. It's pictures of me with a nice photo softbox bag and then my hands in the air. And now the slideshow's done, and I have it so it cut back to the image that I have because it's just turning off. So now it's overlaying that image. So now my desktop is back. So I was able to create a macro to do all of that from an ATEM Mini Pro using the control software. Well, what else can you do? You can actually make a side-by-side layout like this. And again, this is my tiny, so if I was bringing in a guest through OBS, I could put them in that screen next to me, and I have this laid out. See, I'm not moving because I created the box on the right you're seeing. I created it so I'm positioned right in the middle of the frame. So I've cropped it on the right, and I've cropped it on the left using my key, and then that box over there next to me is just a cropped version of my Osbot Tiny 3. So that could be my laptop. So I could decide what I want in that input. But this is a way that you can get a side-by-side layout with an ATEM Mini Pro. I'm using the key. So if I go into my upstream key and turn it off, then now all you see is my ATEM, or my Rodecaster Video S. But if I turn my key back on, I'm using the DVE and it's just cropped. So I can't do multi-view on an ATEM. It's not available, but I can do two versions of me side by side, right? It's crazy. So if I can bring two versions of me side by side, one of them is the camera in the background and the other one is the key on top. So the key's off. Now it's on, key off, key on. And because I positioned the key cropped on the right-hand side, I can get like an interview layout. And then I could use my downstream key to put my name over top on this side and the guest name on that side. It would have to be one layer because I only have one layer left, and I would have to use my media player, and I'd have to drag that in over here. And so a graphic like this one, that's my Facebook page, that would have to have one person's name on that side and then one person's name on that side. And then I would have to go to my downstream key and enable the media player 1, media player 2, and bring that on the air. So I can do that because my upstream key is using DVE. I can't do a DVE or a picture-in-picture using the downstream key. I can only do picture-in-picture using the upstream key. And if you have an ATEM Extreme, you have two pictures-in-pictures that you can use. And you also have two downstream keys, and you have two media players. So I could do a side-by-side interview doing the same technique on an Extreme, and then I could bring a downstream key over here with a graphic and another downstream key over there with a graphic, but the graphic would have to be designed to have one land here and the other graphic would have to be able to land on that side of the frame. And then I would just use this same layout with a guest, and I would be able to then layer those graphics over top, and it would be great. So if I do that now through my DVE, and I've got to show you something right now on my DVE, so I don't have it set to media player. So, okay. So that's just a look at a couple things that you can do with the ATEM Mini Pro. So not only can you bring in a side-by-side layout, you can do macros to do layouts like this, and then turn on Recal and run, and then just switch to the different locations, circle bottom right, circle top left, and circle top right. I did not do the third location with the circle off. Those are all macros. And then if I want to do a picture-in-picture large, there you go. That's just no background. So I could put a background behind it. And right now it would be best to do that one. So now I have a picture-in-picture on the screen, and I did that from a macro. And I can pick whatever background. If I want black, if I want the color yellow, if I want color bars, I can do that. Or I can use one of my inputs or what's in my HyperDeck, and I can put that in the background because I have one DVE that I could bring on the air, the same thing I was using to do this side-by-side layout. One DVE on the air. I'm just using the crop feature, and I'm zooming in to give you this big look instead of this picture-in-picture look that you see right here. So either way, you have a lot of tools with macros that you can add extra stuff to an ATEM Mini Pro, and that is one of my points tonight. So let's switch back to my key. No, we can leave that. We're gonna go back to my PC, and let's put me and a logo on the air, and then let's get back into the chat, because it has been a bit. So chat on the air. Let's see what you guys are saying now. Okay. So Tony says, I send 4 outputs from my 2ME into my ATEM Mini Pro ISO for ISO recording. So again, if you have a 2ME like Tony, it doesn't record and it doesn't stream. So he can use it to do ISO recordings, because remember, an ATEM Mini ISO will actually record 4 inputs, and that's what Tony's doing. Aaron Parecki does the same thing. I think Aaron Parecki is using an ATEM Mini Extreme ISO to record 4 inputs. Maybe it's an SDI ISO, I don't remember, but that's a great use of an ATEM Mini Pro ISO. Gris says, sometimes I want the Extreme SDI just for the ISO recording. Yeah, it has SDI input, so you could use it with a bank of HyperDecks. I don't know why you would do that, but it's got all SDI inputs, and you could come right out of HyperDecks. And so you could go SDI camera in, SDI camera out. You could go SDI A and SDI out. So you could be bringing 3 SDI inputs into that from one HyperDeck, and you could send one SDI input in to a HyperDeck and then play that in through SDI into your SDI Extreme ISO. Cheapest ISO recording way, yeah, most definitely. The OBS computer is overloaded. Might need some RAM. Well, I have 32 megs of RAM. It's just been on all day long, and that's what's happening with my laptop. David calls me the ATEM guru. Well, I have spent, well, since 2020, it's 2026, so I've spent 5 years or so teaching on it. I have a consulting business, and there's a link in the description. You can get a free 1-hour consult with me. I love to help streamers out there. I love to help people that need help. And then you can ask me when we're on a Zoom call if what the programs are that are available for you. And then I Zoom with clients around the world. I also do local in-person training. Most of what my business is one-on-one. I'm either one-on with a group on a live stream, but usually on a Zoom call, it's just me and one person, and I'm answering questions. I'm demoing like I am right now. That's why I have so many camera angles, so many webcams, because I have to be able to show a Rodecaster video. I have to be able to show a YOLO Box Extreme if I'm going to train on it. So I'm planning on completely stripping my studio apart and rewiring it so I can send whatever signal I want to whatever device I want to. And I haven't decided yet how I'm going to do that, but that's the plan, so that every consult I could just switch devices. So I would like to have an Extreme in my studio. I've been working really hard to possibly get YOLO Live to either discount the one I've had, sell it to me discounted. We'll see. But right now the gift is not a gift. It's just for me to use. And it's been an absolute honor to have my hands on that thing. And I'm still learning. I love the bring remote guest feature in, and I used that 3 weeks ago. Actually, yeah, I think 3 weeks ago. And then we went live 4K from the YOLO Box Extreme 3 weeks ago. So let's see. Yeah, 3 weeks ago, we went live from it in 4K. 4 weeks ago, I brought in 2 guests, and we even had a horse in as a guest, believe it or not. So go back 4 weeks in my live stream playlist and check that out. And I apologize for not having chapter markers everywhere. I need to take some time and get those updated. Okay. His OBS computer probably has all the sources loaded. OBS can unload things when not visible. Yeah, it could be. But the checkbox per source needs to be loaded. True. 32 megs of RAM, LLL. We know you meant gigabytes. Yeah, sorry. That's true. I get confused with megabytes, megabits, and gigabytes. But yeah, 32 gig of memory in my Asus ZenBook Pro Duo. It's about a 3,000 and change laptop, and they have a new version out that has 2 full-size screens. I think they're 16-inch, if I remember right, and it's ridiculously expensive. So I would like to update, but have no clue where that money is going to come from. So again, if you haven't hit the like tonight, please hit the like. We've been live together for over an hour, in about 5 minutes, and we have more to cover, and I've caught up in the chat. And thank you, David Osler, for that nice compliment. Let me grab a drink here. And then just one more comment on this Rodecaster video. And sorry for the angle camera, it's not right above it. But again, having two XLR combo jacks on the back is super cool. And then USB-C and HDMI inputs. And unlike the Rodecaster, the ATEM Mini Pro non-SDI models, the minis, this thing has two HDMI outs and multiple USB-Cs, where the ATEM Mini only has one HDMI and one USB-C out. So that's really handy if you want to record to an SD drive to the Rodecaster video. Then you have the ability to play videos from inside this. It's not a HyperDeck, but you can play videos. You can do overlays. That's really cool. So you can load in videos and play them right here. And you just switch with these buttons. What do you want this top row to do? You switch between these two buttons. You have an overlay button down here. And then these are your inputs. And these two grayed out are assignable to NDI sources, or you can assign these to USB-C cameras. And if I wanted to, I can assign HDMI 1 instead of channel 1. I can assign HDMI here or here, and you can't do that on an ATEM Mini Pro. And then you have a cut, auto, and then inspect button, and you just can do more things both here and here with the inspect button on. And then you have two headphone control, or actually two controls right here. This is the dial for this, which is also a touchscreen. And this is the dial for your headphones, headphone 1, headphone 2, and then studio speakers. And you're not going to have the studio speakers if you have a Core or if you have a Rodecaster Video S. So we'll talk more about this device, but I just wanted you to know I do own this. I bought it. It was actually a return to B&H, if I remember right. So I got a discount on it. I paid about the same thing you can get them for right now. But I love that I can bring in NDI sources. So I could go up here into video, and I could go over here to USB-A, USB 1, NDI sources right here, click on it, and then I could choose an NDI source that's available on my network. Again, it has to be hooked up to my network to do that. But again, it is a very powerful device, and we will definitely be talking more about the Rodecaster video in weeks to come, but we're going to do some series here on the ATEM. Okay, so we are having issues with my laptop, but let's just see what's happening here. Let's go back to my laptop. And my prompter popped up for a second. It's like there's nothing on it. So it was just blank. Okay, so let's do this. Let's bring up OBS here in a second. I got a key on the air, sorry. Key on it down here. So let's cut back to me for a second here. And then we are going to look at my laptop here in OBS. Okay, so let's bring OBS on the screen, and we'll put me in a circle. Let's go top right. So I'm on there a bunch of times because I have, let's turn that off. We don't need it right now. So circle off. I'm showing you that I'm feeding into OBS multi-view. So if I change to my control software and I go up to outputs, under webcam, you see multi-view. So now I'll switch to program, and then I will minimize this for now. Now I just have program coming out. Well, I'm also projecting. So if you right click on this screen, I can project it places. So I'm projecting what you see to my BenQ, right here to my BenQ. I can also project it to my Elgato prompter because it sees my prompter. So I can go to any one of these displays. And right now I'm already displaying it. So let's go over there. I gotta figure out how to turn this off. So I have to get over to that monitor. Which way is it? Is it this way? Right click. Close. No. That's not it. Is that it? Can't see it. I think I figured out another way to do this tonight. I'm still, I'm not as well at OBS as I should be. I think I can just delete this frame right here. There we go. And that gets rid of it. So now it's no longer on my monitor on my computer. So it's not projecting anywhere. So because you can see I already have multi-view coming out here. So why would I want to have multi-view here and then through the HDMI out? And again, I can switch. There's program. There is, let's see, I got to change to this camera. So there is multi-view behind me, and now there is program behind me. Now multi-view behind me. So let's go back into OBS. And now I have my OBS receiving my program out. So I have multi-view behind my shoulder. And again, you can see it right here. And then if I want a confidence monitor of what you're seeing, and I have a prompter in front of me, I can send OBS to it, which is why the Elgato prompter, especially the new bigger version, is so cool. I have the older prompter. It's because then I can have right where the lens is. So let me try that right now. I am going to right click in OBS right here, and let's send it to my prompter, and I'll see what happens here. Even though it's not working correctly, it is over there. And it's showing OBS instead of program. Let me make the transition here. And now I'm only seeing half of it. So something's going on with my prompter. It's been acting up for a few weeks. So I'm considering updating to the bigger one anyway. But so now I can have a confidence monitor in front of me and multi-view behind me with an ATEM that only has one HDMI out. And if I wanted to change this, I can use the matrix right on top of my ATEM, and which is really, really cool. So if I take my camera, my OBSBot Tiny 3, right here in my hand, and I click on layout 1, I can cut over to my ATEM. We'll change microphones again. So now I'm on the Wireless Go 2. This version does not connect to the Capture app on an iPhone. So I'm actually considering buying the Pro pack so I can connect directly to NDI. I could do a microphone like this coming into my iPhone and use the microphone NDI into my studio or into someone else's NDI device. But right now, and again, sorry, let me do this so you guys can see me. So the microphone I have on will not connect to the Rodecaster free app for an iPhone, but the Rodecaster or the Wireless Go version 3 and the Wireless Go Pro will, and the handheld microphone will. So here we are in the front of the ATEM Mini, and I just want to point out these are the matrix that's available on the Pro and the Pro ISO and the SDI. And what this means is that I can change what is going to my HDMI out. So right now it's set to multi-view. So The nice thing is having the HDMI cable coming to a monitor in your studio or split it to multiple monitors. So if you have 3 cameras, you can go one in and have a splitter that brings 3 out. And so you could be sending that one HDMI out to all of the monitors. And when you wanted it to be confidence, you just click on confidence and you can see now tonight's live stream. I don't think it changed to you guys, but it changes in my confidence monitor. So I don't have multi-view available when I flip this now. But anyway, so I can change back and forth, or I could put camera 1 to get really good focus. If it was camera 2 I wanted to focus, I could make it full screen on the monitors in my studio. So my recommendation always is use the HDMI to your bigger monitors, split it to multiple monitors, multiple locations. And then if you only have one HDMI going to all your cameras, then you just switch to that camera when you need to focus that camera. If that makes sense. So again, because all 4 cameras would be coming into your studio. So if you're on camera 1, you could work on focus on that. It would be full screen. And then when you're on camera 2, you could then look into that camera and focus it full screen. And if you have a monitor above every one of your cameras in your studio, this is a great way to get focus and make sure the exposure is right, because looking at a little multi-view is really difficult, and that's what I'm looking at right now. So I prefer this in my studio when I'm using my ATEM Live to make my HDMI program, and I split it above all of my cameras like I'm talking about. And then if I want to see the multi-view, I'm going to use OBS like I showed you. And again, here is multi-view being shown right now. This is the program out that you guys are seeing right here on the right-hand side. And I can right-click and project this to whatever monitor I want to. So if I have my Mac shared with 3 monitors extended, then I can just send the OBS to that like a projector. But if I'm duplicating it, then it's different. If I duplicate it, it's going to go on both of the monitors. So I'm duplicating my laptop to my ATEM Mini Pro, which I normally do when I'm live. Then when I OBS to that, it would be on both my ATEM and my laptop. So keep that in mind. It's best to duplicate it if you're going to just bring your laptop onto a live stream or use it for a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting or for training like I do. But if you are wanting to do a production with an ATEM, it might be smart to use your laptop for multi-view and then use the cameras on top, or the monitors on top of the cameras, to be the HDMI out so that you could change using the matrix. So again, that's what makes this matrix on front of the ATEM so powerful for smaller venues. So let's say before a service or before a concert, everything you wanted on the monitors was coming from a video player on camera 1. And if you hit this button and you split it to all the different monitors, this is what would be going to those monitors. And then the main camera on the concert was this one. Then you would switch to that one, and now it would be in the live, potentially, if you cut to it right here. But this is separate from what you cut to right here. So that's the power. Whatever I make live right here in camera 4 is live. That's live online. But what's these buttons, that's only going to the monitors in my studio. So you have the power of these buttons and the power of these buttons. And when you get to a extreme, you have 8 different buttons, cameras, plus clean, program video out, multi-view out, and program out. So preview, multi-view, which is a preview feature that's available in the extreme. I'm sorry for the overexposure when I got close to that. So anyway, so back to the ATEM right there on my desk. So powerful tool. So not only do you have 4 inputs, you have the matrix that you can control what's coming out of the one HDMI out. And then on the Extreme, you only have one Matrix 2. But on the G2, you have the ability to switch between two HDMI outs. So you hold a button down and then you choose the input right down here. And if you assign button 9 and 10 to Super Source and something else, then you would be able to send Super Source out over here as well. And that's the power of the new G2, is that it has two matrix controls on the front, where an Extreme only has one. Those don't seem very important, but when you're doing lots of inputs and you need to send things to different rooms, like the churches that I've worked with, they want to send something to the nursery and something different on the big screens. And so it's really important to have those options. If you don't have like a little box with a DeckLink Duo card in it, so you could choose what you want to send different places. If you're trying to do that with a 2ME, you have way more SDI outs than you do on a ATEM Extreme. But you got to be able to afford a 2ME. And a lot of small venues, concert venues, schools, businesses, churches, and lots of places like that that would use these type devices to switch, they don't have the budget necessarily to put in those big expensive tools. And that's what makes learning how to squeeze as much juice out of an ATEM as you possibly can for the cost of an ATEM Mini Pro. That's what I think makes a video like tonight so important. So you can use OBS and the USB-C input from your ATEM to send this program out. So now this is the program. This is what you guys are seeing, and I'm not recording, so just to keep that in mind, but I could start recording right now by just hitting the recording button. And now I would be casting this inside my studio, I would be recording, and I would be showing you this live, and that's why I'm not doing that, because I don't want to tax out my laptop because it's been being used all day and it's warm in my studio. But that's how you could have multi-view in your studio, or a confidence monitor with just program. You could bring multi-view inside here. Now, there's no really reason to record multi-view unless you needed a copy of it for a project or for a client, or if you were doing training and you wanted to send them a multi-view version so they could see how you've laid things out and where your cameras are. But normally you would bring program into OBS and multi-view into your studio, and then you would hit record. Now you have a recording on your laptop or your PC or your Macintosh of program. You're streaming it out to the world through your ATEM. You're able to use your inputs on your ATEM and your outputs for inside your studio, bringing cameras and devices in and confidence monitors out. You can use the matrix on the front again to switch what you want to send inside the studio by pushing the different buttons and changing what comes out of the HDMI out, and then using macros to milk as much as you can out of one media player, which can be really frustrating because you have two of these puppies. When you own a, let's go to that channel. When you own a Extreme, you have two media players, or if you have 2ME and 4ME, you get even more media players and the ability on a G2. You have another section up here where you can play clips of video, two players up here for video. But again, you only have two media players, and an ATEM only has one. So I can only bring one of these images in at a time, and that's why I need things like this slideshow button. I can do a slideshow right now to you guys, and it's playing through my DVE. So I can put that slideshow anywhere I want on the screen, or I could turn that DVE off and make that slideshow full screen again. But right now it's playing in my DVE. So having the ability to have macros made so that you can do things like that having switches to switch extra inputs. And I used to get a lot of jokes on me when I was live using my ATEM and my first Extreme, because I still used a lot of these. I still always have one of these in my studio, and that's the switch between my two HyperDecks. So if I want to see my HyperDeck Studio HD in my monitor, I hit button 1. If I want to see my older HyperDeck Mini, I hit button 2, and it plays in the same top left quadrant of my BenQ monitor, which has audio when I'm in a 4 layout. So I can hear the audio in that top box, and that's why my HyperDecks go to that top box on my BenQ. It's a great monitor, cost me $1,100. I think they're still available out there used, but most of the monitors out there now that have the ability to do multiple inputs, they don't have 4 inputs like my BenQ, and that's why I bought it, because one 32-inch monitor could take up that space, and I could use it for multiple things. If I want to play games on it, I turn it into a 32-inch monitor from my PC. If I want to do video editing and playback for my laptop, I can turn it into a 32-inch monitor for my laptop. If I want to do a side-by-side, I can have one side be preview from an ATEM and the other side be in preview from another device. There's so many things I can do because it's got 2 HDMI ins, it's got a display port in, and it has a Thunderbolt input in. And you can actually daisy chain another 4K monitor. If you want to go 32-inch 4K, you can go out the Thunderbolt into another BenQ and do another 4K 32-inch monitor. But you can't do 4 in one and 4 in the other through that Thunderbolt, because Thunderbolt just can't carry all of that definition. At least I've never seen anybody ever demo that with the BenQ monitor. And again, you're wondering what the BenQ monitor was, that's the one I showed you guys earlier on the screen. So, okay, little break. Let's go to one more thing that I have a macro for. So I created a macro to show you guys the logo wipe feature. So I'm going to hit this macro. Let's say I want to do a logo wipe from this camera to the view, this camera to this camera. So preview the program, but I want to hide the transition with a logo going vertical. You can do that with an ATEM, and the easiest way to launch it is to make a macro. And what the macro does is it loads this graphic right here in this slot. It goes down here to transitions in the DVE section, and it sets all of these settings for me. So all I have to do is push one button, which is very powerful. So we'll push one macro. So it should be loaded. So when I push the auto transition button on the front of my ATEM, it should switch. In fact, let's do that. Let's switch from my ATEM Mini Pro with my overhead camera. So I now have it in preview and me in program. And now let's switch and see if this macro works. And it doesn't. So let's try it one more time. Now it looks loaded. So there you go. So now this is flip-flop, and I'll show you that setting. But this is another thing that you can do inside an ATEM Mini, ATEM Mini Extreme, and I rarely see anybody talk about this. So, and I don't have to use a logo. I could actually change it to a camera angle. So watch this. Now that center bar is a clip of my control software, because I'm using my input number true 2 as a transition. I can even use me as a transition. or I could use a color. So let's say I want to use color 3 and just have a yellow bar go across. I don't even have to have a graphic loaded. I just have to use the input, because again, almost all of these tools have the ability to bring every input in. So I could even go to color bars and put color bars behind me, I think. Nope. Yep, color bars is a choice. So there's 2 of the colors from the color bar. And again, I can switch from whatever camera. I can go to my desktop camera. I could go back to me from my desktop. I can go from input number 3, which will start rolling my video tonight because it's set to auto roll. So I got to reach over and turn that off, because every time I cut to my HyperDeck, it rolls. And so that's both a good feature and a bad feature. The cool thing about the new HyperDeck Studio HD Plus is it has a remote switch on the front, and you can turn that feature on and off. So I'll turn remote off, and now I will cut back to my HyperDeck, and it doesn't roll. And if I hit the button again on front of my HyperDeck, now it starts the countdown clock. So again, even the updated HyperDecks by Blackmagic Design added buttons to the front, which really helps you if you're trying to choose between SDI in or HDMI in. You have a button now. If you want to have headphones, you have a headphone jack now. If you want to use the tiny speaker on the front of the Studio HD Plus, there's a tiny speaker, so you don't even have to have headphones to make sure your audio's good. Cheapy little speaker, but it works. Reminds me of my first flip phone speaker. But you also have the remote, which turns that feature on and off. And if you wonder where that feature is, you go up to HyperDecks. You go down here to the system wheel on the bottom left, and you go up to HyperDecks, and they move the folders on the left now. And here is the auto roll on and off. It's called REM on the front of the HyperDeck, which is this one right here. There isn't a button on this one to turn it on and off. The oldest one, and this is kind of the remake, so of this version right here, because that had fill and key, this has fill and key. So reality, that one was updated to this one, and the HyperDeck HD in the middle is just to play videos back and record video. It doesn't have the same crazy features that my HyperDeck has. So again, that's where you go to change your HyperDeck remote automatic start feature, is in the settings wheel on the bottom left. Okay, we're gonna get back to the chat again. It's been an hour and a half. I don't want to bore you guys. If you have any questions about the ATEM, let's take a few minutes and let's try to answer those, and then we will pop some H2R graphics into tonight's live stream. Again, I'm using my PC, so I'll have to switch input number 2 using the switch I have hooked up, and I'll bring my PC in instead of my laptop into input number 2, and then I can display H2R graphics on the screen because I'm using OBS on my PC to bring chat on as well as bring H2R graphics on. Now, H2R graphics, and there's I did a link tonight. Let me just cut to that page real quick here. H2R Graphics by John Barker. And I still have DVE with the transition bar on. H2R Graphics, and I'm hoping that you're seeing me on top of H2R Graphics. I'm way too big, so let me do circle top right. And nothing's working right now. So let's just turn it off. Where is circle off? There we go. So H2R Graphics is, there's a free version and there's a pay version, but that's what we're going to look at here after we talk about your questions on the ATEM. And then I will bring some H2R graphics into tonight's live stream. So with OBS, I've been able to bring in the USB-C out of the ATEM. I've been able to bring chat on the air. I'll be able to bring H2R Graphics, but again, I'm using 2 different computers to do all this tonight. That's why I need to have a switch to bring my PC in and my laptop. So when I want to show it to you guys and also show you OBS, displaying multi-view or program, and then PC if I want to do H2R Graphics on the screen, or using it to OBS to play my webcams and do chat on the screen. So, okay, so back to my PC because I need to bring chat on the air, and you're going to see my PC pop up right there. It's going to be black because it's already displaying chat. We'll turn chat on the air here, and we're going to go into the control software here real quickly and turn the DVE feature off. And where do you find that? In the transition bar in your control software, you'll see that you have mix, dip, wipe, and DVE. And so there's even cool things you can do with your transitions using those 4 choices on the bottom of your ATEM. And then when you get into the higher end devices, the stinger button is actually enabled. It's in that row as well. So if you look at it in your ATEM Mini control software, and we might as well just look at this real quick. Give us a second. Bring my laptop on. It is right here. So you have mix, dip, wipe, and DVE. And if you want to use that stinger transition or wipe, logo wipe or color wipe, you turn on DVE right here, which is basically like a picture-in-picture going from left to right or right to left. And you turn it right to left right here with this flip-flop checked box right there. So if I turn that off, then that DVE transition is only, I got color bars, so let's go back to media player. Let's make sure it's in here. There you go. And now we'll make the transition. We better make a camera live here. And for some reason, it is just not working. So let's try that again. There it goes. Sorry about that. So that is DVE. So we'll cut back here. Let's cut back to my camera, back to camera 2. And then right here, next to wipe and DVE is the stinger button. And that's available in higher end consoles, just so everybody knows. So, okay, back to me, back to my PC, and let's get caught up in the chat. I put chat on the air, that's why that was not working. When I put chat on the air, I have the upstream key on display in my PC, and that's why you couldn't see the stinger, because I have an overlay right now on the screen. You just can't see it until I do this. So Gris says, honestly, I would rather have a MacBook for that money. Yeah, again, the new MacBook Pros M5s, Costco has them. They're very enticing. And again, I have had a Mac before. I had the cheese grater Mac. Spent $6,000 of that in my recording, studio. It's archaic now, but the new M5 chips are pretty incredible. In fact, if you do decide to take advantage, we'll come back to that, to my Facebook page, I put a video on there of an incredible a blender effect video about the M5 chip and how many transistors or transducers, whatever they're called, are on top of that chip, and how big a iPhone would have to be in, I think, 1975 or 78, somewhere around then, how big that iPhone would have to be to fit those transistors or transducers back in those years, back when I was a teenager, compared to now. You'll understand the crazy cool impact that technology has made on the size of chips. And we can do things now that we could have never done back in the 70s, and that is crazy. So good to have you, Andre Malcolm Studio. I just joined. Can you drag and drop videos onto the G2? No, you can't. Well, I'm not sure. The way the videos work is there's multiple frames. And so I don't own a G2. I have a client that does. And so I did a lot of studying on it to help him. But I've never had a G2 in the studio. So I've never operated. Now, he showed me there's some demos that you can, when you get a G2 and you download the control software, there's a folder that actually has video frames in it. And so you have to load all those and then play them. So in reality, the G2 isn't playing video clips, it's quickly playing frames. And it can only do so many frames at 30, which is more than the frames it can do at 60 frames per second. So if you're set to 60 frames per second, you're gonna have less seconds of video. And if you are at 30, you'll have more seconds of video. And in reality, video really is just 24 frames going in a second, but that's the technology that the Blackmagic is using to play these short stinger clips. And so I don't know exactly how you load them. I'm pretty sure that if you can load graphics like I showed you tonight in the media player by clicking on the left-hand side, you should be able to bring in those video files as well. So don't quote me, but I'm more than 50% confident that you should be able to bring those files again. And again, they're special files. So you'd have to have a G2 or a 2ME. And really, in reality, Tony could probably better answer that question. Tony, have you ever dragged and dropped in from the media player left-hand screen where you can see the preview and go to all your hard drives that are connected? Can you drag and drop video over? That would be a great question for you to answer for Andre Malcolm. Gris says, Facebook page link. Yeah, I should put that in the description. Good idea, Gris. So let me go find it. Oh. Facebook login, log in. Copy. Let's see, I don't have the chat out of tonight's video right now. So there you go. Let's check on the poll because I don't have it in my confidence monitor. So there is my Facebook link. And let me cut back to this chat off the air real quick. PC on. Let me cut to input 2. This is the video, and it's in my chat. And this was all done with green screen, a real suit. I think 6 cameras around him, maybe more if I remember right. And another guy did all the blender work. This is a cool video, not using AI. This was all done using the free downloadable software called Blender. So if you want to do some really cool things with 3D, you can with the app called Blender. I have it on my PC. I just rarely ever play with it. And then it was all shot on surround sound green screen. He was really in the suit. And this is his best performing video ever. And he is a big, big YouTuber. I just can't remember his name right now, but I put that video on my Facebook channel, which is mainly stuff from this channel goes on that Facebook. So that's what I kind of focus on. So go check that out. And again, back to my laptop, get my logo back on the air, and let's turn chat back on. And let's continue down here. Grish found it. Thank you, sir. And there is the link. So you can click on that and like my Facebook page. So I focus just there on my business, and you know, I have way more followers on my regular page, but that's my business page. So go check that out. And then again, if you click on the link in the description, you will get this page right here. Again, I'm using that switch to do this. This is my home page, and if you click on contact, that's the link in the description, and you just scroll down and you fill out this form. This is the form you're going to use if you want to join the Zoom town hall that's going to come here in a few weeks. I think I'm like 4 weeks away or 3 weeks away from the town hall. I gotta do it around my trips, but I think I'll be alive almost all of my vacations this year. Maybe one I won't. But anyway, you just write down here, I want to join the Zoom town hall, or if you want a free 1-hour consult, you've never taken advantage of that, you fill out this thing here. I need your name. I'd like to have first and last name. I'd like to know your location. I don't need a phone number, but I need your email, and I need to know that you want to do that free 1-hour consult. And I will copy that in tonight's chat as well. Once I get there. So there you go. That is in the chat tonight as well. So if we look at our poll, I'll click on it over here. Where am I at here? Let's go back to my PC and chat on the air. So we have 17 votes, and the question is, have you used an ATEM Mini Pro webcam USB-C out to display multi-view while using the HDMI as a program? And you could reverse that. You could use HDMI as the multi-view, and you could use the USB-C as the program, or vice versa. And the reason you would want to use the USB-C as the program into OBS is then you could record at the same time as having that image coming in. So you could display it on a monitor using OBS, and you could record in OBS. And technically, you could bring other graphics on the screen as well. So thank you for answering the poll. Thank you for hitting the like button. If you have not answered the poll question yet, we have 35 no or yeses, but 65% of you have never, you may not have an ATEM, but if you do have an ATEM out of the 65% of you that said no, then that is a great way to get more out of your ATEM. USB-C out can do preview. And I showed you last week how you could do a multi-view layout using preview. So like right now you're seeing the program, but I could go over here and put my OBSBot Tiny 3 channel 4 in preview. And then if I go into my control software and change the webcam out to preview, now OBS is seeing preview. So this is live on my ATEM. I have my OBS camera going to preview. I could use OBS as a multi-view. I could have my laptop captured. I could bring in a guest from Zoom potentially. I could also have my OBSBot Tiny 3 camera, and I could do a super source layout. And if you want to see that, I did it last week. I did it with my webcam on my laptop. I did it with my preview coming into the screen, which was my other camera through my HyperDeck. Right now, I have in preview my ATEM downward camera, but last week I brought in a HyperDeck camera. So again, so go back and see that. So you can bring multi-view using OBS because they have the ability to send preview out that window. So Aaron Parecki actually says you could have your super source in an extreme in your in your preview, and you could record now your super source in OBS while you're live. Or if you're doing a presentation to a client and you needed a video copy of the super source, you could put super source in preview, send that preview out of the USB-C port into OBS, and now you could be recording your super source without having to burn it out input, looping it back in. So, and people have been doing that. They've been using an output, an HDMI out, and bringing it back into their ATEM Extreme so they can record super source. But now you can use the USB-C out because preview is one of the choices. That's huge. Really cool. And I demoed it last week on our live stream. So go check that out. So, okay, so 17 votes. Thank you so much. And 65% of you have not tried that technique. And again, you could do preview and multi-view and record using that technique. When you only have one USB-C port and one HDMI port, you can now pull off 3 things with that trick. And then you can also do super source using the preview screen trick. So again, program is live and preview isn't, but you can send it out the output. That's cool. Okay, so let's end this poll. 65% no, 35% yes. Thank you for answering that poll. And it is now ended. Let's go down here to the chat and catch up here. Okay, we're all caught up. Just my 2 links in the chat. So let's do this. Let's go into H2R Graphics. And H2R Graphics comes on the same way. So I'm going to go into my PC screen right now. And I am going to bring in my H2R Graphics scene. And let's see what happens. Chat is on the air. So let's see if, where is it at here? I'm looking for one specific thing to do here, confetti. And, okay, so let's transition over and let's hit confetti again. And it's not coming through the way it's supposed to come through. So let me just look at my settings here. What do I have on? Okay, let's try that again. On. One more time for all the old times. So HDR Graphics is acting up right now. It's displaying in OBS. I've had this issue before. Let me think this through. If I go back to my Sky Cams, okay, they're working. Let me go back to H2R Graphics. Off, on again. Transition over. Okay. Chat on the air. Cool. Thumbs up would be great tonight if you haven't done it yet. We have it working. Here's some confetti falling. I don't know why the confetti, it's like the key is off. Okay, so when I turn chat on the air, chat off, why is it turning both keys on? That is the problem. So my macro is messed up. I apologize. Let's try the emojis again. Okay. So what do I have? I can't have, I guess I could have, let me look at my downstream key here real quick. My downstream key is set to laptop, and my upstream key is set to laptop. So my downstream key, pre-multiplied key, is off. Let's mess with the pre-multiplied settings. Let's try this again. Let me just put something on the screen here. Okay, so now let's turn. There we go. So it might just be the settings. I didn't get the key settings right. Let's leave it like that. And now let's turn that off. Let's try the countdown timer. That seems to be working. Let's try confetti again. Yeah, I don't know why it's not as bright as it usually is. So there might be a setting. I mean, it's pretty small on my screen. No, it looks good on my OBS, but it's just not translating. So I wish there was a way to loop it, but I can't. But anyway, H2R Graphics is a great tool. So you can download it and use it with like a Yellow Live Extreme. You could use it with a Rodecaster video. You could use H2R Graphics with an ATEM through OBS. So it's a powerful tool. I've only recently downloaded H2R Graphics, the Pro version. So I'm learning how to use it. And again, I've used it before live. You can actually bring a moving gradient on the air. So you wouldn't do that through a key. So you would leave the key off and you would switch to that channel, and then you would put yourself up on top of it with a large picture-in-picture. And then let's cut to that in the background here. Stand by. So now I've got this moving gradient in the background, and I could be using this key, have it bigger. And so HDR has this ability to do these moving gradients, and they're just changing the colors in the background. You can change the color of the gradient. It mixes two colors, and right now I'm using my company colors, yellow and black, and that's what you see blending behind me. Again, by using my key, I can make this picture-in-picture. So I could do a layout like this and bring my logo in through a different software, like use OBS to bring my logo on the air. But again, with H2R Graphics playing back in my downstream key and my picture-in-picture, my upstream key, I have no way to add graphics unless I bring them in at the same time through H2R Graphics. So let's go ahead and bring in the countdown clock again, and it should be above my head. Let me bring something that's down on the bottom. Yeah, and I don't see it coming on. So if I turn that gradient off and then bring my H2R graphic on, I can do that. And I can put something else in the background like my yellow color, but it's not animating. But that lost my, that's losing, let's try black. That's losing for some reason. My H2R graphic is not coming on the air. So again, ATEM is limited because it only has one upstream key and one downstream key. So I don't consider this a fail. I just wanted to show you guys that I'm playing around with H2R Graphics. They also have, you can put a map on the screen. It's a little complicated to set up. I know that the drawing on the screen, which is called the Telecaster, I believe, Tony has demoed that on his channel. So go over and check out Quick Tech Solutions a few weeks back. And Tony did that. So that's really cool. So let's turn the DVE off. Picture in picture. There we go. And then let's bring me back on the air. In fact, let's use my macro to bring my logo on. So H2R Graphics is one option. I'm definitely not a H2R Graphics guru, but again, it is a great software. It has countdown clocks in it. It has Telecaster, so you can draw on the screen. Again, Tony demoed that. I think I demoed it a while back. You can bring lower thirds, upper time countdown clocks. You can do slideshows. You can bring a map on it and link it up with your chat. So if someone types in hello from a certain location, it will put that pin on the map. Aaron Preki uses that map type setup, even though he wrote his own map code, not H2R Graphics, but he uses that map every Sunday in his live streams. I think that's a great feature. So HDR gets you the map, gets you lower thirds. You can customize it. You can use it to bring confetti on the screen, logos on the screen. And again, I think it's a really cool tool. And so I mainly use my OBS to be able to bring chat on the air, because I want to be able to bring what you guys are saying up on the screen. So if I turn chat on right now, we'll wrap this up tonight, because I'm getting a little exhausted for whatever reason. It's hot in here, and I've been talking for 2 hours. So ATEM is a great tool, and you can use macros. You can use the inputs coming in, like from HyperDeck, to get different things in. You can use a HyperDeck to do animated graphics. You can do green screen work, which we didn't talk about tonight. Blackmagic Design has some new green screen tools that we want to talk about. I think I'm going to get one this springtime, maybe early summer, and display it. And the cool thing about their green screen devices is they are before the ATEMs or your 2MEs or your Rodecaster video. So you could use a Blackmagic Design keying device to key out like this camera. And so you load the graphics or the video in the device. I think you have to feed it video from like a HyperDeck, but you could have a background of a beach. You could use a device to key you out, and then the HDMI sends everything into your switcher. So you could use it with any switcher. Makes it a very powerful device. So this camera, if I put a green screen behind me with that device, could always be a green screen background. And so I could take a picture of this using the camera and get out of the picture, so all you see is the background, and I could load that into the device, put a green screen behind me, and it does such a good key, you can't even hardly tell, depending on how close that green screen is. But a great device. And if one of you guys remembers the name of that device, it's a company that Blackmagic bought, and they're available, and you got to buy one for every camera, but you could do some high-end chroma keying with that if you wanted to. And that video that I linked you to on my Facebook page, that's when you would want to have a really good quality ability to chroma key. So you could do special effects like that with cameras all the way around you, do your whole routine in your spacesuit, video it on all the cameras, on green screen, get a perfect key on all of those cameras, send that off, and you could be dressed as the Mandalorian with a little goat. And I think someone just came out with a, what's his name? Godo? I feel horrible, but anyway. You could have that little animated guy that's available now, I think through Fisher-Price. It's releasing right now as that new Mandalorian movie comes out. You could have that device in your hand, and you could put the background, whatever you want, all the way around you. with those kind of devices. And we'll look in the chat to see if anybody named it, and no one did. So let me go to Blackmagic Design site here real quick. And then we're going to say goodnight. Homepage, products. Ultimatte. So this Ultimatte on each camera or go up higher. So $559, I can get a perfect key on this camera that you guys are seeing tonight. It's a way better key than you can get inside an ATEM Mini. Again, once you're keying inside the ATEM Mini, you're stuck in that key. But if you could key it before it gets into your switcher, that's where the power is. And Blackmagic Design bought Ultimatte a while back. They released all of these about a little over a year and a half ago. They're available now. And for $559, you can get one of those. And Adam Tao, who made Mix Effects, the app, again, which is another great tool for you to be able to, let's turn circle off. Another great tool for you to be remotely controlling your ATEM, $49, just under $50 app you can use on an iPad and then wirelessly control your ATEM. I even have access to my HyperDeck, so I could choose which file I want to play from either one of my HyperDecks in the studio. I can change my keys. I can do everything from this iPad, and I can even display multi-view if I want to use a dongle and bring the USB-C in from my ATEM. I could then display multi-view here instead of in OBS. So this could become my multi-view monitor at a remote location using that same USB-C output through my iPad. And I've done a demo here on my channel, so did Adam Tao on his channel. So go check that out. So I could click on my macros. There's a macro page, or I could design my own switcher page. So there's my inputs, preview and program. You can see my background layers are down there. My transition styles are up over here. My fade to black is right there. My transition bar is right here. So I could just drag it with my finger. And again, if you haven't downloaded, it's only available for iPhone or iOS. But if you have not downloaded this app yet to use it, you should. I can access all of my ATEMs on my network. So they're right down here. So there's a list of them. So I could switch to my ATEM ISO 1 or 2 right from this iPad, which is totally cool. So well done, Adam Tao. And he now has a voice control app, and he also has a facial recognition app available on his page. So we'll have to have Adam Tao come on the show again and actually explain that. And I feel honored to be, I think, the first person that ever had Adam Tao on a live stream to talk about Mix Effects when it first came out. And that was a really cool moment for all of us. That video is also here on my channel. Let me get back to my macros and get my logo back on the screen. So again, this is week number 2 from the ATEM. I don't know how many weeks I'm going to do. It depends on how exciting it is to do it. And if I can think of some more tricks and tips, I will do that next week. So we showed you the wipe transition. I showed you how to use the stinger through a HyperDeck. You can also put animated logos on the screen, my subscribe logo. You can do H2R graphics through H2R graphics into OBS. You can bring webcams into OBS. And even OBSBot has a converter to convert their cameras to HDMI. So you could bring a webcam like this camera I have live tonight you can bring. Is it still live? Yeah. This camera is an HDMI input because I've converted the Tiny 3 to HDMI input, and that is coming in to my switch. So I can run my key, which I've got to switch over right now. So I'm going to push that button to switch back to my key so my outro will play correctly. So that's it for me. I'm done. Let's bring the microphone back over. Let's switch back. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. Grogu is the name of the Mandalorian, what would you call him? Sidekick. And that movie releases on May 22nd. So the character's name is Grogu. Wish they made a Blackmagic Ultimatte 4K HDMI version. What cameras are you using? I use the Canon EOS R, 2 of them, and I have a Canon 5D Mark IV, and that was one of the questions that was asked tonight. So I talked about my cameras. And then I have a number of webcams. I have the first face cam. I have the YOLO Cam S3, which is a great camera. I have the new Insta360 Link 2 Pro, on which I have videos on those on my channel. And I have the new Osbot Tiny 3. I also have the older Insta360 Link version 1 with 3 gimbals, Insta360 Link 2, which is one of the sky cams that I can display while I'm live. And so I have lots of webcams that I love to bring into my show. I love that you can program different locations on those. And I love that they have gimbals. And if you haven't heard, Insta360 is coming out with a new gimbal that's going to compete with the new DJI 4 Pro or whatever it is, mobile 4 Pro. So that's really cool. And it has a detachable screen and controller. So you'll be able to use Insta360's Luna with a detached screen. So it's leaked. It's out there. That's all I know. They're not sending me one. I asked for one back when I heard it was coming out, but I'm not a big enough, evidently, YouTuber to get one from that division. But there's some cool features coming out for some mobile 3 gimbal devices. So pretty cool. Okay, I am Keith. This is Life Journey Production Studios. I hope to see you all in another video coming soon. Thank you so much for joining me live. I'm absolutely honored. You guys have an amazing week, and I'll see you very soon. I'm out.